In the opening chapter of Shema, there are so many lessons we need to embrace. The first, of course, is V'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha, as we already learned, our obligation to love HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chol levavcha, b'chol nafshecha, b'chol miodecha, with all of our heart, our soul, and our might. And then we learn Vishinantam levanecha Vdibarta Bam. We need to teach our children, and we need to speak the words of Torah. B'shivtecha b'veitecha v'lechtecha v'derech v'shochbecha v'kumecha. When we are at home, when we are on the road, when we lie down, and when we rise up. It's interesting, within this single sentence, there seem to be two separate commands. The first, to teach our children. And the second is to speak the words of Torah when we are at home, when we're on the road, when we lie down, and when we stand up. And yet they're not two separate commands, but rather the second is the fulfillment of the first, because the only way we can teach our children well is not by instructing them in a classroom, but rather by living a life of Torah, by having them witness the way we speak Torah when we're at home, when we're on the road, when we lie down, and when we rise up. The only opportunity of Vishinantam levanecha is Vdibarta Bam. And in fact, when you look at the trup, you'll see that over the words Vishinantam levanecha is a zakef katan, a minor stop. Vdibarta Bam has the etnachta, has the major stop. The way to teach our children is by speaking the words of Torah. But that's not the only thing we can learn from this sentence, because the Gemara in Yuma teaches Tanura Banan Vdibarta Bam, you shall speak the words Bam velo batfilah. You should speak the words of the Shema, but not the Tfilah, not of Shmona Esrei. What does that mean? Explained the Baruch Halevi Epstein in his famous work, the Baruch Shemar, that we need to understand that to be a Jew is to be a person who prays 3 times a day. We say that tefillah, but to be a Jew is to live a life not of prayer, but a life of learning. Vdibarta Bam, that's always Bam. Those obligations of Torah learning and Torah living are constant, velo batfilah, but there are distinct and unique portions of the day for prayer. Torah study, Torah talk is something we must do always. Prayer is reserved for those momentary encounters with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but the encounters with his works, with his teachings, must be consistent and always. That's the way we convey them forward to the next generation. Vishinantam levanecha.